Wow. Okay. Lawlers, welcome to the beginner's guide to Syndra, the kind of mid lane burst control mage, assassin, AP, whatever you want to call her. She uses a bunch of spheres and balls to deal damage and manipulate the lane, bullying your opponents and controlling them to make a decision between last hitting most of the time or taking a bunch of damage. So we're going to try something a little bit different in this video than we normally do with the beginner guides. I'm just in training tool here. We're going to be able to spawn some practice dummies in a second. Just because Syndra's abilities, I think, require a little bit more understanding before we even jump into some basic gameplay against one of the bots here and just try and showcase some of the trading patterns. So let's buy an item from the base here. Dorn's Ring is going to be your go-to with her in pretty much every game. A couple pots and a stealth ward. We'll just head towards the river and talk about some of her abilities here. Again, all of her abilities kind of, they have to do with these balls that are rotating around, with these spheres of energy, okay? So she always has 3 rotating around her. That's a little bit more just for the graphics and the visuals of it. But the first ability you're going to learn here, the Dark Sphere, her Q, is going to be your bread and butter ability. It's going to be the one that you max first, behind your ultimate, obviously, whenever you can. And it just lets her put down a sphere that deals damage. Okay, so the range is about that much. It's not huge, it's not short. It's, again, kind of that mid-range control mage range. So you can throw down these spheres and they deal damage. It's area of effect. So what I mean by that, if we spawn some practice dummies here, let's put a few down. What I mean by that is it's going to deal damage to anything in that circumference. So if we throw one down here, it deals damage to both of them. It's not limited to one target. Okay, so that's pretty powerful. It lets you throw down your Q to not only get last hits on minions for gold, but also if the enemy champion is within those minions, or if there's 2 champions together, you can deal a lot of damage. So when you're playing Syndra, it's not going to be uncommon for at the end of the game, if you check your damage charts, you're going to have a lot of damage because a lot of her abilities are AoE. So let's pick up a few more abilities here. We'll just level up to level 3 so we can talk about each of our basic abilities. So the second ability you want to learn in lane is Scatter the Weak, your E. This throws a wave of force forward. You can see here with the quick cast range here. It's, again, not huge, it's not short. And it knocks enemies back in that range. The other cool thing about this ability is it throws any spheres that are on the ground forward as well. So you're going to have a little bit of fun playing around the physics and the trajectory of these 2 abilities interacting, your Q and your E, to knock back and stun enemies. So if we just use it without a ball, let's say an assassin jumped on us and they start attacking us here, you can just use it to throw them back. You don't even need to have a sphere on the ground. So it's really important to remember that. Just auto refresh cooldowns as well so we can show this. If someone happened to jump over me over a wall or try and gank me and my Q's on cooldown because I've been using it to attack something, I can just press E and knock them back and keep running away. Okay? The other way you can use this is if there is a Q on the ground, you can throw the Q back and knock them away too. So even if they're outside of this range here, let's say I was trying to hit this person in front of me as well, right? If I can throw a Q down and then throw that E out, it's going to throw that ball back with it and knock them back. The other amazing thing about this is if there are multiple enemies and you have multiple balls on the ground, right, something like this, let's say, and you have all these balls on the ground, let's, again, obviously an extreme case here, and you press E, it can knock them all back, okay? So it throws all the balls away and stuns everyone. That is massive for kind of mid-game skirmishes and team fights. You can really have a huge impact. The stun time is nothing to joke about. I think it's like 1.5 seconds. Like, that's a long time. You can get deleted in 1.5 seconds if 2 or 3 people jump on you. So in those mid-range and mid-game team fights, try and make sure you get a few balls down if you can with harass, and then throw that E out and stun as many people as you can, knock them all back, okay? The last ability that we're going to learn from our basic abilities is Force of Will, W. So she grabs a sphere, enemy minion, or non-epic jungle monster, and she can kind of drag it along with her in the ether, and then press W again to throw it out, deal some damage, and slow. So it's kind of a mix of her Q and her E. So what I mean by that is it deals a little bit of damage. Like if I put a Q down here, I can pick that sphere up with W, drag it along with me, throw it back down, and it basically is recasting your Q again with a slow effect. You can pick up enemy non-epic jungle monsters, so anything but the Baron or the Dragon you can kind of pick up, drag it along with you, and throw it out for more AoE damage. And again, you can then knock back with your E if you needed to for whatever reason. So in terms of a basic combo with these three abilities, I'd say in lane, and we'll talk about this more once we get to the lane, you really want to focus on landing Qs early on, getting off that harass on the enemy champ, and then maybe stunning them backwards, picking up a ball, and then following up with that W. Okay, that's kind of like your three ball combo if you want to look at it that way. Q, E, into a W. If you don't like the placement of your Q, you don't think you can get a stun off of it, like your E over here, and you're not going to stun this champ if you were looking for them. Don't bother casting the E or the W, you're going to run out of mana. So really try and make sure that that first Q is in a good position to get the trade you want. Then you're going to throw your E and stun that champ, pick up the ball, and then just keep beating on them and dealing damage. You can see here we're running Electrocute in the runes. I'd highly recommend you run Electrocute in your runes for Syndra, just for, again, playing into that burst style. And then in your secondary tree, run the Mana Flow Band and the Transcendence. You're going to need as much cooldown as you can with Syndra, and also you want as much mana as you can with Syndra. Okay, before we kind of walk down towards this Trundle, just to have some fun laning against him here, we want to talk about our ultimate and our passive. So the ultimate, Unleash Power. Syndra draws power from all of her balls, the three that are rotating around her and any on the ground, and throws them all at a target. Okay, this is the only ability in Syndra's kit that's a point and click, so it doesn't take any skill to hit. You just need to click R on the target that you want. So keep your mouse over them, click R, it's going to throw a bunch of these balls and deal damage. Obviously, the more balls that you throw, the more damage you're going to do. Okay, so the best way to use this ability, you could either just throw R right now. So we got to level up, sorry, give me one sec here. So we'll level up to 6. Again, we're maxing out our Q, that's our best basic ability. So we could either just throw R with the 3 that are around us. You'll 3 places those balls on the ground now. You could do that, or you could try and put a bunch of balls down in a fight beforehand, like you're throwing Qs out, right? You're dancing around, and then you press R. It's going to throw 5 now, so it's going to deal even more damage. Okay, so ideally, if you're looking for the most burst damage, you want to have as many balls on the ground before you press R, so the 3 circling around you plus whatever's on the ground deals damage. That's going to maximize your R damage. But the more utility way of using this ability is if you actually want to try and impact a team fight early on and get a bunch of stuns out. We know that if there's a bunch of balls on the ground, then you press E, you could stun everyone. So if there was a team fight breaking out here, you could throw R on this guy right here and then press E and stun a bunch of people, because it puts 3 balls on the ground for you. So it's a very easy way to get a bunch of balls on the ground and then stun people. So R and then E, right? Huge stun, stunned everyone that team fight. So it won't really net you those kills. You won't be that guy who's kind of KSing and getting the last hit on someone to really get that kill goal, but it will make you a team fight god and really have a big impact early on if you happen to ult somebody, press E, and then stun half their team like that. Okay, so that's the gist of her abilities. The last thing here is just her passive. As she gains levels in each of her abilities, they're going to gain additional effects. So this is really good. It helps her scale into the late game. So Dark Sphere deals 25% more damage against champions once this gets maxed out. So we'll just quickly show that here. If I throw a Q on this guy here, you can see the total damage is 161. If we level up a little bit here so that we can max this ability out, right, we've maxed it out now. We can't put another skill point in it. Let's see how much damage it deals now. Right, 289. So it just scales up. All of her abilities scale up once you max them out with their skill points. So her W, Force of Will, is going to deal 20% more true damage, so again, more damage. The E, Scatter the Weak, increased width by 50%, so it's just going to stun even wider range, which is going to really tilt the enemy team. And then your ultimate, Unleashed Power, the range is increased by 75. It's not massive, it just helps you kind of one-shot from a little bit of a safer distance. Okay, so let's recall now, and let's just quickly talk about the first item that we're going to rush, and then we'll go down to the bot lane against our buddy, the Trundle bot, and have fun destroying him for a little bit. So Luden's Tempest is the item that you want to rush in all of your games. Specifically within that, you want to get that Lost Chapter first. It gives you mana, it gives you ability power, and it gives you haste. This is probably the most important item in the game for Syndra early on, and then obviously Luden's Tempest, the most important core item. So you want to build into that first. I believe we can add some gold here, so we can just pick this up right now. Second item you want to rush usually with Syndra is going to be the Sork Shoes. Mobility is obviously key on a champ who's already pretty immobile, and then you can build into a Zonya's if you want some of that survivability. So that's usually going to be your first 3 items in terms of a spike. So we'll pick up that, and we'll pick up this just so we have a basic idea of our power levels. Now we are running teleport in our summoner spells. I'd recommend you do this with Syndra because early on you're going to run out of mana, and it's going to be tough for you to stay in lane just as an auto attack champ. The teleport lets you kind of push the wave or get an advantage trade off, and then go back to base, get some mana, get your Lost Chapter, you know, teleport back in, and essentially just be ahead of the enemy champion. Okay, so now that we kind of talked about all the abilities, we know how we want to use them to the best effect. Let's try and trade with this Trundle here. Okay, so the best way you want to use your Q in lane is when they go for last hits, you want to try and hit them with the Q. So he's just hitting me right now, so right when he goes for the last hit, we'll throw a Q and deal some damage. Alright, he's going to go for last hit, throw it a Q, deal some damage. You can see, because we've obviously maxed out the Q here first, it's dealing a crap ton of damage. Obviously we have a little bit more ability items than he does at this game, but you're going to notice in your games, once you start to get good at landing Qs on the enemy champion, you'll be able to chunk them out pretty hard in lane, okay? So you're not always going to land them. It's a tough skill shot, and it does have a 1-second delay before it even comes up, but just know that as you get better at understanding when to cast it when they're going for last hits, or how your enemy opponent moves, you will have some great success with Syndra in lane. Okay, you can use it to kind of zone them off too from getting last hits when you push under tower, and that adds to the fact that she's a control mage, right? Like if he wants to step up to get that, we can punish him for it. Okay, so we're controlling his movements essentially right now, which is, you know, again playing into the fact that we're a control mage. If they lead lane, because our abilities are all area of effect, you can really push minion waves out fast and start to get some of that tower gold in lane. Alright? So we'll wait for him to come back into lane here, and we'll just do a quick all-in combo so you guys can see how that works on an enemy champion, and how you want to do that again in terms of all-inning 1v1. We want to get as many balls in the ground as possible and deal as much damage to the enemy champ before we press that R, so that we can have the best chance to finish them off in one shot. Okay, so you're going to max out your E second with Syndra. You want to get to that wider scatter range faster in the game so you can have bigger team fight impact and stun more people. So we'll just kind of hang out in this bush till this guy gets here. So our combo is going to be to Q him, E him to stun him, W onto him, and then maybe do one more Q and R. So here we're going to Q him, we're going to E him, we're going to pick up that ball, throw it on him again, throw another ball, and then press R and throw all 5 balls at him. That's your basic kind of 1v1 all-in combo. Again, depending on the champ you're playing against, if they can be one-shot, if they're really tanky, if they're really squishy, get to know your damage. You might be able to kill people just by pressing Qs on them and maybe with an E eventually, or you might want to use that ultimate again in a team fight situation when there's a bunch of different champs and it's really important to win that team fight, that you want to try and stun everybody. So let's say that there was a massive team fight breaking out down over here in the bot lane, right? I could just press R on this guy, press E, stun half the team, and then just run again back to the back line and let my team continue to deal damage. But all area of effect spells, right? If you did that combo and you press the Q before it and then through E, like we did, you know, a bunch of damage here, like over 2,000 damage just in one combo in the game. So have fun playing her, guys. A lot of skill expression with this champ, a lot of room to improve because pretty much her whole kit is skill shots. So let me know how it goes, and comment with any questions or your successes or failures, I guess, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.